Hello everyone, today we will be discussing Melacha of Kotzeir, harvesting. Uprooting or serving any part of a living plant is forbidden on Shabbat, under the category of Kotzeir. Additionally, it is forbidden to break off a branch of a tree, remove a leaf, or pick a fruit or flower from a tree on Shabbat. Moreover, there is a debate amongst poskim if this melacha is limited to things that grow from the ground, or if it expands to include uprooting any living thing from its life source. For example, pulling a fetus out of a mother's womb, or pulling a fish out of the water. Kotzeir was done in the times of Mishkan, when they picked the herbs to make dyes and cut wheat to produce flour for some of the sacrifices, and for the lechem hapanim, the showbread, which was baked in the Mishkan on a weekly basis. There are a couple of toldot melachot associated with Kotzeir. These include lifting a perforated flower pot from the soil it was resting on, shaking a tree to cause its fruit to fall, picking a fruit or vegetable with one's hand, whether fully ripened or shriveled. However, one may remove a fruit from a branch which was detached from a tree from before Shabbat. Moreover, it is forbidden to pick mushrooms or remove moss from a rock it is growing on. It is likewise forbidden to smell a fruit attached to a tree. However, one may smell a flower. It is permitted to smell a spice, such as a mint, while it is attached to the ground on Shabbat, and there is no concern that one going to detach it from the ground. Included in the Melacha of Kotzeir in the Gezerot, rabbinical enchants that prohibits us using a tree or animal on Shabbat. This prohibition includes leaning on a tree, shaking a tree, placing objects on a tree, and removing objects from a tree, whether it is alive or not, bears, fruits, trees, or not. However, one may sit on a dead tree stump. A ladder which is leaning on a tree is considered indirect use of a tree, and it is also forbidden. A tree house may also be included in this category. One may not leave items that will be needed on Shabbat on the tree before Shabbat, because one may come to remove it from the tree on Shabbat. Additionally, a swing that is directly connected to a tree may not be used on Shabbat. One may use a swing that is suspended by hooks attached to a tree, as long as it is done before Shabbat, and the tree will not shake as a result. The same rule would apply for a tire swing. If an item such as a ball gets stuck in a tree higher than 3 tefachim, which is approximately 24 to 27 centimeters, one is forbidden to climb on or shake the tree, and is also forbidden for poking it with something else. In addition to the rabbinic prohibition of using a tree, lies the prohibition of using an animal on Shabbat. Therefore, it is forbidden to ride an animal on Shabbat, as a rabbinical restriction, lest one detach a tree branch in order to have a stick to prod the animal. It is also forbidden to place something on an animal or remove it from an animal on Shabbat, nor may one lean on the animal on Shabbat. The sages forbade certain activities which could lead a person to transgress the Melacha of Kotzeir. This includes making use of trees, including climbing, sitting, or leaning against a tree. Even placing an object on the tree is forbidden. If a person left an item on a tree, he or she could remove it on Shabbat. Someone who deliberately climbs a tree on Shabbat is forbidden from coming down until Shabbat ends, unless it's absolutely necessary. Smelling fruit which is still attached to the tree, this restriction does not extend to flowers, since one can fully enjoy a flower by smelling it, while it remains attached to the ground. Fruit, however, one may be tempted to pick and eat it. Eating fruit that fell from a tree on Shabbat, the concern here is that one may absent-mindedly pick every fruit off the tree while collecting the ones on the ground. Using and riding an animal on Shabbat. The main concern here is that while riding a horse, one might break off a branch from a nearby tree to use as a prod, although the concern only arises when dealing with animals that can be ridden. The sages forbid the use of all animals on Shabbat to avoid confusion as to which animals are forbidden and which are permitted. Use of an animal in this context includes anything from riding a horse-drawn carriage to covering an animal with a blanket. For practical guidance, pet owners could consult a rabbi to determine exactly what may and may not be done on an animal for Shabbat. To summarize, some common activities to avoid on Shabbat that would fall under the category of Kotzeir include climbing trees, picking flowers, lying in a hammock or swing which is attached directly to a tree, playing in the treehouse, picking up fruit that is lying on the ground under the tree. Thank you for listening about the Melacha of Kotzeir and hope you have a great day.